once we got to the point where Palladia approached us, then it became an engagement with both boards of directors in terms of, what does this look like and why would it benefit both organizations? And I think according to what our boards said, was the friendliest and most impactful meeting related to the merger, and that there was so much in the way of information that we prepared and anticipated the questions of both boards. And because we did it together, it seemed very cohesive, logical, rational, and it made the board's work a lot easier in terms of decision making.
The work really had a lot to do with asking a lot of scary questions. What would it mean, to explore a merger? What does it mean to have a different kind of board? It probably means some board members who are on the board now won't be on the board in 5 years. I think we tried to make sure that people understood the change really it wasn't a personal affront to anybody. It really was about everybody thinking forward into what should this board be like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, in order for us to be best positioned to provide the best quality services for those people we care about in the community.
I really think that it has a lot, that a key player in this is I would call brokers, not your traditional brokers, but people who actually have worked with both organizations and not just in a passing way. So they have a deep sense of what they're doing. So that could be the government agency that funds both of them. It could be the private sector funder. It could be, in the case of community and affordable housing, you have organizations like Enterprise and LISC that work with a variety of them. It could be the executive director of an association that has had workings with both. So it's those trusted advisors that can play that broker role that I think critically important.
I think the most important benefit is that when you have a third party, and that party is outside and is not ultimately going to have a big payoff for the merger, that they can be objective. Whether or not the merger happens, it doesn't really impact their work. They can then be very, very candid about spotting both the opportunities and the threats and laying them out very, very clearly. And I think that was the role that we played, but there are others in the mix that played that role.
I hope by being a specialized, discreet, i.e. keeping confidences, funder, we can help groups figure out what they need to go through a thoughtful process, and we can provide, particularly the risk money up front to allow that to happen. And that can be a few $100 for dinner to get the board chairs and the EDs together. It can be, as in this case, some funding for outside support, technical assistance, call it what you will. Sometimes it can be to help cover the uninspiring but unavoidable costs of actually doing a deal. So I think of ourselves as a greaser of the skids.
Two pieces are really important. One is you have to have leadership willing to merge. So that's on both sides. The second is I do think culture is really important, and people don't like to talk about that. But if you don't have a common culture or shared values, it's very hard to bring the organization together at the staff level or even at the board level, because you're not hearing what the other folks are saying. So one thing that was critically important about Palladia and SUS is they had very similar cultures.
I think from a service delivery approach, that was pretty synergistic. I think the hardest decision making was around the financial piece and understanding whether or not their financial weaknesses would burden SUS to a degree where it would compromise the work that we do. And I think we just went deep in analytic around that. We found good partners in government because I think government was interested in having the services of Palladia survive. And so they were extremely supportive in terms of that transition. But I think, we had to work with banks because, you don't live in an island, so not only do you have to get government to agree that this is the right decision and it's going to work for both organizations, but you also have banks and lines of credit and all the kinds of things that you need to shore up and addressed before a merger can get executed.
Every transaction is different. Some transactions are about leadership, when one group has a leader who's leaving. Some transactions are about program, expanding programs or improving their quality. Some, not all, not many, are about cost savings. And I think we saw all three here. I think that Donna Colonna is clearly a great leader, fully capable of running a larger organization. We saw the benefit for cost savings, particularly through a rationalization of the real estate portfolio. So there was the leadership side, there was the cost saving side, and then I think programmatically and from a mission standpoint, the groups fit well together. For me, I'm an easy to satisfy person. One would be enough, but if you can get all three in one transaction, it's pretty good.